Welcome back to TYGR's Garage. Got a brand new fuel pump. Today we're gonna put it in. First things first, we gotta get the old one out, and we gotta deal with the 8 to 10 gallons of fuel that are in this thing without it leaking. So that's where we're gonna start. We're over here in the side shop. We're gonna get the back end jacked up, hopefully drain most of it out of the cell into a fuel jug that I brought, and then we'll cap the rest. We'll take that whole plate that the fuel pump sits on back home, lay it out nice, and then we'll do the thing where we come back over here and install it. First thing we gotta do is drain the tank a bit, but I think this is the easiest way to do it instead of trying to like pump it out. All right, that's better. I wish I wouldn't have put that extra 5 in, but we did. Okay. We got the majority drained out of the cell. Now we're gonna take this inlet side off. Just see if we have any down here. I wouldn't expect there to be much. There's probably a little. Go ahead and break all of these. This is just a return. I don't think there's gonna be much here. Maybe. Oh, I think I said that last time too. And there's some there. Put a plug in that one because it probably has fuel in it. Okay, well, I'm sure I'm gonna wear some gasoline here. My plan is to take this whole plate out, and then we'll take the plate with the pump, the old pump attached, back to the home shop, and we'll get our new one mounted up. I'm gonna grab the filter too because I want to try to clean it, and then we'll bring that whole thing back over here kind of as an assembly. Yep, it's dripping all over me. What are you gonna do? Get the angle just right and drain some of that extra out of there. This can probably come out now. All right, we got the fuel pump back of the truck. I smell like I bathed in gasoline for whatever reason. We're headed back home, and I'll show you the new pump we're gonna put in. We went with a little different style. We're gonna do a little disassembly of this and then try to mount the new pump on this same plate. So, new pump. Haven't even opened it yet, but we went with something a little bit different for a couple reasons. One is the fact that they don't make this pump anymore, but I'm not really married to this pump. I did a little research. This is an old Holley Dominator series. They call it a Volumax, and they aren't kidding. This pump is rated at 250 gallons per hour, which is insane. It was insane for the old motor. It's very insane for this one. 250 gallons per hour is like enough fuel for 1,000 plus. Or a big inch motor that's running a couple kits of nitrous and you're using this to feed all the solenoids. This is too much pump. That's probably why it sounded like a blender when it was on, and we just don't need it, okay? Especially like returnless. We don't need it. This one actually has a return built into the bottom that loops back. Our new one is going to be a deadhead style returnless system. If we run into vapor lock issues or something like that, I'll buy yet another regulator and run a true return style fuel system, but we're not gonna do that right now. I took the clamp off, so check this out. 12 volts, 250 gallons per hour, which is crazy talk. April 17th, 2000. So this pump is 25 years old. This car hasn't been in my family even for 25 years. So this was used probably when we got it. I don't actually know what I'm gonna do with it. I'll probably put it on the shelf. It would be a fine like transfer pump, free flow. So this one's off to the pile of stuff I may or may not ever use again. And I'll show you what we got. This here, I haven't even opened yet, but it is an Aeromotive pump. I'm a big fan of Aeromotive stuff. Anything they make is awesome. This is their Street Rod series or Super Street pump, and it is a nice looking unit. And it's chrome, so you know it's better. So this pump here, made by Aeromotive, it's their SS series. Doesn't stand for Super Street, it stands for Street Strip. Rated at 140 gallons per hour, which is significantly less than what we had, but still way more than we need. There's some math for how much flow you need based on horsepower, and then that's also based on pressure. This one is plenty, trust me. It is rated to do up to 14 PSI, which we should never, ever even get close to, and it's just gonna be an all-around better unit. It's got a single in right here and a single out right there. This is going to mount on this same plate, and we are going to lay everything out right now and make it work. We know that our inlet comes in on the, what is the driver's side, so we'll probably end up doing something like this, spinning this bracket, kind of making it work with the existing hoses. 3/8 pipe, inlet and outlet, that's important because that's what we had. Okay, so here is what I'm thinking. I took this filter apart, cleaned it, it's in good shape. This is the inlet side. So what we're gonna do, this is obviously isn't tight, we'll do this. This end will connect to the hose that comes from the cell. Then on the outside, we're gonna use this 3/8 to -8 swivel elbow, and we're gonna point it kind of in this region, and the hose will connect to that. I think it'll be a better lay of the hose. And then this whole thing, we're gonna drill, looks like 2 new holes, and we're gonna try to mount it kind of in the middle so we don't have to fight like we had to fight to get the bolts out. That's the plan. I'm gonna lay this out, mark the center of this, drill some holes, get everything assembled, thread sealed, yada yada, and then we'll head back. We gotta wire it. It wires basically the same, right? This is our new setup. This is angled on purpose because I want to create space, as much space as I can for these bolts. I also put in a little stud right here, which we're going to use as our ground. So I'm going to crimp a ring terminal on this. This will ground right to there. And then all we have to do is connect the red wire in the car to this red wire, hook up a couple hoses, and we'll be good to go. Wire crimped, grounded, in, out. We just got to head back over there, bolted up. And hopefully now we'll be able to adjust and maintain a level of fuel pressure that's adequate instead of, you know, kind of guessing, sometimes getting 5, sometimes getting 0. This should be a much better solution. All right, we are back over here. We are going to slam our new fuel pump in, put some gas back in it, and see if we have fuel pressure. Sneak under here. Oh, cool. That's been dripping fuel the whole time we're gone. Keep this from falling on my face. That would be great. Oh, I want to put that on so it stops dripping all over. Tighten these up. This is a lot better as far as access goes. This is the return that we're going to loop. This is our outlet. There we go. Kind of like that. That was the idea behind it. This will connect to there, no problem. We'll run it up that way. It'll be sweet. Now this here is the old return, which I brought a cap for, and we're just gonna loop it kind of up out of the way for now. We may eventually go back to a return system, but I think what we'll do is we'll probably just like zip tie it up with the other one, kind of like that, and it'll just be. New fuel pump is installed. Next thing we got to do is we made sure all these are tight. We're good down here. We're gonna head back up top, put some fuel back in it, and yeah, I'm gonna use the same fuel I took out. I filtered it. My funnel's got a filter. And then we're gonna hit the key and see if this thing will, see if the pump comes on, set our static pressure just like last time, and then we'll try to get it to fire, set the pressure with it running. It's super cold today, and this thing is cold-blooded, so it might be a bit of an adventure trying to get it started. Feeling, you guys always feel your high-dollar hot rods from a Harbor Freight bucket, or just me? Just me? Okay. I don't know if I'm going to put all this in it because driving season is pretty much over, and I don't want it to sit with a ton of fuel in it for the next 6 months, but I want to make sure we got enough to, you know, start it, move it around a little bit if we have to. There also might be some nice days where we drive it, so. Ow. I'm so glad this didn't fall on my head, but that still hurt quite a bit. Okay, what's next? Ow, I have an instant headache after that. Where was I at? We gotta hook the battery up. Don't forget this car still needs a battery. So I got it on the charger to hopefully help get it started in this colder weather. All right, first thing we're gonna do is just click the key forward. That should fire the pump and we'll set our static pressure. We'll also check for leaks. I can never remember which key it is. It's quieter. No leaks back there. Whoa, we got lots of pressure, which makes sense. We had her cranked way down. Okay, that's 5. We'll leave that there for right now. All right, I got it off the stands in the back. There's no leaks back there. So we're gonna hop in and try to keep it running. And then once it'll idle, we'll set our running fuel pressure, which is the real one that you care about, and we'll go from there. We'll probably let it warm all the way up. I think I'm gonna spin it around in here so the nose is in towards the nose of the other cars. Because when it gets cold, I have a little oil heater I run in here, but the warmest part's gonna be the middle. Even though this thing has coolant in it, I don't want it to get cold. Don't want it to freeze. So we'll put all the noses together. That way all the engines are closest to the heat source and farthest from the door. Come on, buddy. You're so cold. We'll get there. Come on, buddy, stay running. All right, we are a little down on fuel pressure. We'll go ahead and turn that up a bit now. All right, now we got a solid 5 at idle. It was down to about 3.5. That should be happy. I think I'm gonna pull it outside, let it warm up all the way. We're gonna let it sit and warm up, make sure the fans come on, all that stuff. You know, this is still new, but we have fuel pressure, which is an improvement. Came down a little bit again. I'm gonna turn it back up. Okay, listen, it's still doing it. We adjusted it up to 5, look at it, it's down to 3. Adjust it back up to 5, look at it, it's down to 3. I have the thing screwed all the way in now. And just sitting here without the motor running, it's at 3. I don't know what's going on. Here's what I think. I think that old pump was weak because I used to not be able to get any more when I adjusted it. Now I can. I can almost always get it back, but it's not holding. I put the rest of the fuel in it just in case that was it. It's not. I'm not sure what else affects fuel pressure. There's pump, big line, to the fuel log. I'm starting to wonder if I got my floats adjusted like way wrong. Would that do it? Like, I really don't know. If you know, nicely comment and let me know what I'm doing wrong, because so far I've got a $500 fuel pump and a $150 regulator and the same problem. I might have to make some phone calls to some carburetor people. What I think I'm gonna do now is fire back up and put it away. And then when it cools all the way down, like maybe I'll just turn the pump on and set the float level. This carb doesn't have a sight glass, so it's really hard to see. And then maybe, you know, do a little Googling and try to figure out what I got going wrong, because now I have all new parts and I still got the same problem. And I gotta do some thinking. I really don't know. So I'm gonna put it away and I'm gonna noodle on what our problem really is. Surprise, it's me again, and I can't leave anything alone. So I couldn't let that video end that way. I have a couple theories about our fuel pressure issue, and before I throw my hands up in the air, call a carburetor guy, a couple things I want to check. Now, it's a week later. I've had a birthday since then, so I'm a year older and a year wiser, which I think is gonna come in handy. By the way, all I want for my birthday is for you to click the subscribe button. So you're a couple days late, but I'll forgive you if you do it right now. Anyways, fuel pressure. Let's go over what we know. Car starts and runs usually has fuel pressure in the beginning. Slowly over time, as we'll say as the motor heats up, but I don't know that that's totally related, it goes to zero effectively, but the car never dies. So I don't really think it's zero, which is gonna come in, it's gonna be important later. So my two theories are this. The easiest one is maybe we don't have a problem and we just have a bad gauge. I did a little bit of researching, and liquid-filled fuel pressure gauges have been known to indicate less pressure as engine bay heat increases, which totally makes sense, because as that gauge heats up and the fluid in it heats up, that needle could read less. I bought a brand new one. This one is mechanical, not liquid filled. This is one of the things we're going to try. If it's this, I spent $700 to fix a $29 problem. Whatever. The other thing, which I think is probably more likely. Do you remember, beginning of this video, when I drained the fuel from the cell? What? There we go, a little vent. Now, when I did that, you'll remember, I opened the port on the very bottom, like of the sump, and fuel started to come out, which would be expected, right? What I didn't expect, and what I didn't realize until I was editing this video later, is I got a surge of fuel, and then it slowed to a trickle, like it wasn't, like it needed to vent, like when you're pouring out of a gas can. My fuel cell has a vent. That should have never happened. It's got a -6 coiled up. I think it has a rollover valve in it, which could be something we get to in a minute. I'm wondering if I don't have a vent issue and we're sucking fuel out of the tank, we cannot replace it with air, and it doesn't matter how badass of a pump we have, we start to like vapor lock essentially. So that's the other thing we're gonna try, and we're probably gonna try it first. I'm gonna take that vent line off and just run the port open on the cell. We're not gonna drive it, it's a rainy, nasty day today. We'll just push it out and see if it'll sit there and run and maintain fuel pressure with a vent that we know is good. The other reason I am thinking this might be the problem is both times when I decided, like, let's add an extra 5 gallons, maybe we're not picking up all the fuel, the tank was kind of vacuumed down. Not crushed, you know, but you could tell it was sucked down, and when I undid the fill, it went and it became a square again. That tells me that we do have a vent issue. If it's not the whole issue, it is a issue, and it needs to be addressed. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna grab my gauge, gather up a couple things, go over to the other shop. I don't know what order to do these in. I think I'm probably gonna try the vent thing first, right? If it works, then we don't have to put this gauge on at all. If it doesn't, or if we still lose pressure, we'll put this gauge on and see if it was just a gauge problem. I wanna test in an order that tells us the most, basically. But that's the plan. Shouldn't take very long. I've been racking my brain for a week or so about this. It doesn't make sense to me. It's got to be something stupid. Let's go figure it out. All right, I think the first thing we're going to do, which is going to tell us a lot, is I got the charger on it because it's stone cold and it needs it. I'm going to connect the battery, and we're going to do nothing else. And we're going to turn the key on and see if it has fuel pressure. right? Because it should. If my theories are correct, or if one of my two theories are correct, it should. It's cold, so the gauge is not going to be affected, and I've since opened and closed the tank, so like we've replenished all the air that maybe got sucked out. If we hit the key and we have fuel pressure, I would expect to have a lot too, because I cranked it down last time. I'm going to go ahead and say that we don't have a pump or regulator issue. I'm actually willing to say that right now. We just don't know which of the two issues we do have. So that's going to be step one. Depending on what we see, step two may change. While we're here, this here is the vent, okay? That one is the old return that we're not using anymore. We're going to address both of those later, but from dead stone cold, I want to see what happens when we just turn the key from where we shut it off last time. Remember when it was turned off, it had like 0 fuel pressure. Okay, watch right there. I'm gonna go find the right key and just click it forward. The pump should come on and we will see what happens down there. And it's probably gonna be too much and I'll have to turn it back off quick. Yeah, okay, let's shut her down before it starts puking out. Okay, did you see that? It went to like 12 or 15, which makes sense because this is turned all the way in. I'm gonna back that out and I'm gonna probably take the air cleaner off to make sure we're not leaking. Kind of got a guess on how many turns to take out of this. Start right there, I'll hit the key again. I don't think it's gonna flood right away. Okay, still a whole bunch. That's 7, that's still a lot, but it's not running. We'll leave it there for now. What does that tell me? What does that tell us? I think that tells us that we don't have a problem here and we don't have a pump problem. We've got a time problem. I also don't think the gauge is bad, but it's dead cold right now, so it's hard to say. Let's keep troubleshooting. I'm not exactly sure where to start, but the vent test is the easiest and the least likely to spill fuel. And honestly, the one I'm most interested in knowing. So I think we're gonna start there. So it's on stands right now. I'm gonna get it off stands and just kind of push it back a little ways. While I was up there off camera, I did go ahead and check the float level. It's dialed in perfect, right at the bottom of the sight glass. I didn't think that was it, but it needs to be checked anyway. Changed my mind a little bit. It's still on the charger, so I'm gonna start it in here and then I'll bump it into reverse and roll it back because it's gonna take a little bit of cranking. But first we need to deal with our vent line or lack thereof. This here's our vent. That's the return. So I'm just gonna take this and undo it, basically. And there should, let me get, ow, God, another time on the trunk lid. So this should be a direct path. Oh, there is a check ball in that. Okay, interesting. Which is not totally uncommon. If you guys aren't familiar with fuel cells and NHRA regulations and really any racing series, Formula Drift included, if you run a fuel cell car, you have to have what's called a rollover valve in it, which does exactly what it sounds like it might do. It's keep fuel from spilling out if the car is shiny side down. Usually they're a little AN chunky fitting. This one appears to have it built into the cell. If it's stuck in the checked closed position, this tank will not vent. That could be what's going on. I'm gonna blow through the line with my mouth, see if I get air movement, and then I'm gonna try to blow against that check valve, or maybe I'll move it. It actually should let air in, but not fuel out. So if I push down on the ball, it should move. All right, this might be a little gross, but I'm gonna basically put my mouth on fuel line here for a minute. This is the vent. Honestly, I can blow through that no problem. It doesn't even taste that fuely. Now I'm gonna blow on this, I guess. Oh, that's a problem. That's it, for sure. So, now that I'm done making out with my Roadrunner, I'll show you what I did. I put my mouth right here and blew in, which should represent air flowing in as the vent, right? As fuel gets sucked down, something has to replace it. That something is another liquid that we like to call air. If that doesn't happen, this tank starts to crush like a pop can. And I was seeing that every time I would add fuel, it was like pushed down like that. You see how it kind of has a little bit of pop can action, which means the check ball in there is stuck or something, because it should allow air in and not fuel out. That is how they work. This is welded in, which is extremely interesting. So what I'm gonna do now, take the other side off. That's a return. I wonder if it has the same setup. I don't know if you'll be able to see down in here. See that little shiny spot? That is the check ball. All that does, it's a one-way valve. Now, God, I got gas in my mouth. When something's coming in, that something being air, it should allow it to flow. When something's trying to get out, it shouldn't allow it to flow. So I'm gonna try to wiggle it with this pick. See if I can't free it up a bit, and then unfortunately probably blow on it again. All right, I huffed a little more fuel, but I have updates. So, I cannot get air to go in. I can move the little check ball thing around in there, and it almost looks like it's set up wrong, like checking in the wrong direction, which I don't understand because this car has been together for a while and it ran before, but who knows if people were as, you know, observant as me and actually check their fuel pressure if they just let it ride. So here's what we're gonna do. This side here is the return port. It's for the old return portion of the fuel system. Now, if you look in here, let me try to get you in. What I'm trying to show you is it's an open hole. You could fill fuel that way. It would take forever, but you could. Here's what we're gonna do, short term. Remember that line? We capped it because it's going to nothing right now. So we're gonna dive back underneath, take that cap off, put that fitting back on, and that line is going to become our new vent. We'll leave the other one connected just for fun, for completeness. Now, if this car were to roll over in the next hour and a half, fuel would leak out of the vent. That's a problem, but is it really? Like, I'm just gonna push this thing out and let it run. It's not a problem right now. This car's not gonna be raced really ever. If it ever goes shiny side down, we got bigger problems. Long term, I'll buy one of those little check fittings that they make in like a Dash 8 that has the valve, and the valve will be above the tank. It'll work the same way. So it'll be legal. That's kind of important. The rollover part kind of isn't important for us. I mean, safety is always important, don't get me wrong. But long story short, we're switching our vent side to side. That's gonna allow an open Dash 8 size vent to replenish air that fuel used to take up. I am almost 100% sure this is our problem at this point. I bet this thing sits here, idles, maintains fuel pressure, and we go home happy. All right, I got the plug out that was in the old return line. I'm gonna go ahead and put this line back on. There is a couple loops in it, because more than a rollover, if this was full, you may be concerned with a slosh or something like that. Today, like I said, we're not even concerned with that. So now we know our tank is appropriately vented, just not out of the vent side. But it doesn't matter. It's all the same in the middle. So now we're gonna fire this baby up and watch and wait. Set the fuel pressure while it's running, let it get hot, give it a couple revs. I don't know if we'll drive it. It's been so wet. I don't wanna get mud and stuff all up in the wheel tubs. But I wanna prove to ourselves that this was our problem. If it's not, we'll put that gauge in, although I also think that was a waste of money at this point. That's what we do here. Let's see if we can't get this baby fired up. Come on, buddy. Let's check the fuel pressure. It's right at 6. It's cold today. Still got fuel pressure, which isn't that abnormal for this point in the process, but I'm feeling pretty good about ourselves. All right, guys, well, I may have spoke just a little bit too soon. Back down at 0. Is it the gauge? I don't know. Could be. here's the deal. I pulled it back inside because it's starting to sprinkle. We fixed a problem. That tank was not venting, and it is now because it's not doing the mushroom pop can thing. That was a big part of the problem. Maybe it wasn't the only one though, because as you saw, as it warmed up, the gauge started to go back down to 0. Now I have a new theory about that. Still have a gauge theory, which I think we'll put in since we have. Stinkbug needs one anyway. I use the old piece of shit one for him. Here's my other theory. What if we have, like, we know we have a voltage issue. We know it. The battery's weak. It could just be coincidence, and today's the first time I've noticed. But I started to lose fuel pressure when the fans came on. I had it unhooked from the battery charger. On the voltage gauge, it's hovering around, at idle, it's only hovering around 11 volts, maybe 12. I'm surprised the MSD box is even firing because I've heard they're kind of sensitive to that. So does our electrical load get so high when the fans come on and the motor gets hot and yada, 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 especially deadheading the pump, that it starts to lose voltage and it can't push hard enough to get there, to maintain? Seems like a stretch. It's something we can't test today. I don't have a new battery. Speaking of, you bought one of them lately? Not cheap anymore. They were never really cheap, but they're like crazy now. The red top in this thing probably be 300 bucks. Don't care, it needs it, but I don't have one today, and O'Reilly's certainly doesn't. So I think what we'll do is I'm gonna let it cool down a little bit. We're gonna throw that other gauge on there, and we're gonna hit the key again. Maybe with the battery charger on, see what we get for pressure. I didn't adjust it this time. It should go right back to 6, 5.5, 6 is about where it was. But the hunt continues. I thought we had it there. I think that was a big part of it, I really do. We've still got something going on. I don't know if this is the issue or not, but I am gonna replace this gauge. I'm a little bit suspect of it. I hope it doesn't spray fuel all over a hot header. It doesn't appear that it's going to. Okay, real quick, I'm gonna hit the key and see if this is any different, because the old gauge right before this was reading 0. We also gotta check for leaks. See? That's so weird. This gauge is reading like 8. Just sitting here, 6, 7, 8. It's reading exactly 8. All right, so you'll notice we're back at the home shop now. The last little bit of that audio got super crunchy and was unusable, likely from having the car running in the background the whole time. It's a touch loud. But I'll tell you where we ended up. I put the new gauge in. I think you guys saw that part. Then I ran it just at idle with the battery charger on it for about 10 minutes. And then while it was still running, I took the battery charger off, which did cause a little bit of a voltage drop, which we expected. That whole time, fuel pressure maintained. So what does that tell us? I'm pretty sure that tells us we had a gauge problem this whole time, and that we spent a bunch of money chasing a ghost when we could have spent $35 and realized we didn't really have a problem. That's okay. That's part of troubleshooting sometimes. Now, I could have slowed down and noticed some of this stuff first and probably saved a little bit of money, but whatever. It's fixed now. I'm happy with it. I think we're good to go. I don't think that old fuel pump really was that bad. I know the old regulator wasn't. We do know that the gauge is funky and maybe not bad necessarily, but very sensitive to temperature, which is something that happens. I did a little bit of reading. I'm not the only person in the world that's had this issue. And I truly believe that we don't have a fuel pressure problem because the car would never die. If it had 0 PSI, that means nothing's moving fuel-wise, and it should empty the bowl and stumble and fall on its face and die. Never did that. Even I drove it around, I think, at 0 PSI, which makes me feel better knowing we probably didn't have an issue and we had fuel the whole time. Long story short, I believe that's going to do it for this episode of Tiger's Garage. Thank you for making it this far. Please don't forget to subscribe. Remember, my birthday was 2 days ago. That's all I want. Anyways, next time you see the Road Runner, I think it's probably time to buckle down and put a battery in it. Even though driving season is pretty much over here, we may get a nice fall day, and I'd like to be able to drive it and know for sure that it's going to restart, especially now that we have the fuel pressure thing sorted out. So probably going to try to find another red top And then, unfortunately, that one's probably going to be put away for the winter. But we got a bunch to do here, and you will see that on a future episode.